nation building.
Okay, good evening from MTV Studios. I'm Byron Campbell, host MTV Community Forum, and of course, co-host Chris Diali. Good evening, Chris.
Good evening, Byron. Good evening to our listeners and viewers. We welcome you again to another
Chris,
episode.
we have an interesting session this evening. Of course, we're going to have our serious chat. It's about 15 minutes, and then we have the PRO of the NDC, Mr. Ron Redhead, Honorable Ron Redhead. He's a parliamentarian, of course, yes. And he'll be joining us to talk about the NDC 3 years in office and the state of the party in general. So we look forward to him joining us in the second part. Chris, I want to start with the question of remittances, which is so important for our economy in Grenada. A lot of us, a lot of people depend on remittances from their families overseas, North America in particular, in Europe of course also, but more the United States and Canada. But what's interesting is that the Trump administration is now applying a tax essentially of 3.5% on remittances. But I've crunched the numbers for Grenada. So listen to what our numbers are. In 2023, our remittances was $50 million US. It was down from 2022, which was about $70 million US. But what's interesting, it contributes about 5.3% of our GDP, which is around what agriculture does for us. So it's significant. But the loss, that 3.5% tax is going to equal 4.7 million Eastern Caribbean dollars. So that is what the Trump administration is going to take from us, poor people in the country who needed that money. So this has implications for our really, for all of us, for Grenada. It's a lot of money for people who really need it. So, not a good situation at all.
Yeah, and you have to question what is the intent of that.
Yeah.
And 4-point-something million EC dollars makes no significance to the US.
No.
In terms of their monies and GDPs and so on.
Yeah.
So, essentially, it is a penal tax, in my view, on people who live in the diaspora and looking to help their families in times of need.
Yeah.
And all that does is that people, if they have to remit $100 US to their family, they're going to remit it 3.5% less. You may say it's small, but when you take it into the $50 million category and so on, it adds up. So it is a disincentive to send money home because you have to pay a tax. Some people may afford or they cannot afford. It's interesting that he has not targeted the barrel trade. Because the barrel trade is a form of remittance as well.
Yes.
Sending goods to the value of money. So, you know, this seems to be only on Western Union types transactions.
MoneyGram.
MoneyGram and so on. So it is a way to, you know, penalize, in my view, what is happening. And then you really have to call into consideration, you know, as I said.
And it's targeting not citizens. So if you're a citizen of the state, you're not being taxed for sending money. Immigrants, in other words, green card holders, you know, these are the ones. But what we know, or what the information we have is that when people have to pay taxes, they use other means. And sometimes they don't work. You know, people steal it, it get lost. So this is something that I think as a region, our government should try to lobby to change, at least some exemptions on this.
Yeah, because of the significance.
Yeah. Chris, prostate cancer, you know, we don't talk about it as men much, you know, but we have, it's a significant health concern everywhere, but particularly for us, we have a high incidence of prostate cancer and mortality rates. And what I'm learning from a report I saw, the highest recorded incident rate was observed in the St. John's area. That corridor and with St. George having the highest overall 7-year average. It is reported that our mortality rate is about 83% per 100,000, one of the highest in the world. I think we're fourth. So it's cause for concern. Is it that our men are not doing the test, not going to the doctor? The last funeral I went to was prostate cancer death. So it's happening all around us.
So I think this is one where men have to take blame to a large extent. And the reason I'm saying that, prostate cancer is one of the cancers that are not as aggressive as other cancers that you may get. And it's almost curable to the point that if you get it diagnosed early enough, you can make interventions, medical interventions that will keep you in good health as a man. But our men have two fears, I believe, about prostate cancer. The first one is that we don't take care of ourselves normally in terms of our health, how we eat, sleep, drink. And then we don't do any medical checks at all. And that, in essence, especially for men once they hit 40s, in your 40s and upwards, you need to check your prostate and see what's happening with it over time, get a baseline and all of that, and so on. So it is an important thing, and that is where we as men have to take responsibility for not checking and understanding your status. So that is the first thing. And the second thing, of course, is that, you know, the St. John's thing, to me, will probably indicate, and I have no evidence about that, probably the men, they are less careful about their health. They eat seafood, by the sea, they bathe, they think they're healthy, and prostate, you know, their prostate may not be as healthy as they think. So it's one of those things where it could be avoided, our stats could go down, but our men have to pay attention.
Absolutely. As we're talking about death and dying, you know, there's an issue here, Chris, regarding burial grounds. In fact, the Prime Minister was talking about that, and he was suggesting that cremation is probably a way out of it. You know, we just don't have the land space. I think most of the cemeteries are filled or being filled, and I mean, is he making a valid point here?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I support the Prime Minister.
I don't want to be creative.
110% on this, because we have limited land space. All our cemeteries, with the exception of about 2 or so, are based on the report. But if cremation offers us a way out or another form, I think it takes, to me, it takes nothing away from doing a cremation, doing the service, and whatever. And even when you want to scatter the ashes, you could have.
But it's not our culture, Chris.
Well,
you know,
no,
like,
culture has changed over time.
Okay.
And if you have, what is worse? Going to a cemetery trying to get a hole to bury your loved one, and you meet bones of another person. I think that is worse. So I have full support of the Prime Minister. As a matter of fact, I have said before that we should take it and put it in law. As of a certain date, you give a time to phase out. You know, you need to go cremation. And we build in tombs now, making it worse for the space situation. So, I mean, let us be real.
Okay, so but this conversation should continue.
Remember, we have cemeteries by the sea, and
well, look at Carriacou, you know, Carriacou.
Major one in Granans, I mean, come on, I mean, we need to get creative.
Chris, we have a new political party launched. It's called what? The People's National Party, PNP. Of course, the leader is Jonathan Lacrette. He is self-appointed. He's a self-appointed political leader, self-appointed caretaker for St. George Northwest. Well, we know his history, of course, was thrown out from the government, clearly. But I know he's active in the Northwest. We need another party. This is...
Well, I mean, I give great respect and think to Mr. Lacrette in forming. The history of our country has never been parties more than 2 making a significant dent on the electorate. I mean, we have had a number of parties in the past partaking in elections. I mean, if you go to the books and so on, you'll see a lot of parties registered and, you know, doing and trying to get some sort of sense of convincing the electorate to go their way, and it hasn't been successful. So, I mean, I have to wish him all the best, because he's going against a history that doesn't seem to support more than 2 parties in the race.
And there was another party, I think they called Change Hope Grenada, Carriacou and Petit Martinique. I think the political leader is Carol Alexander Jones. She had to, last week she had to withdraw. Apparently she posted 4 caretakers. They never approved of it, so she had to take it down. I mean, it's like, some kind of messy, you know. It's like,
Well, I mean,
you know, it's
you have a lot of that. I mean, to me, what it says is that people believe the environment is heating up.
Yeah.
That
But it's good for democracy.
Yeah,
Chris.
and the current government may call an election. Well, it's 2027. It's due.
Yeah.
So you know they're getting ready to make a play.
Chris, I hear you talk about that at all. Cricket West Indies. Look, on the Thursday, the 3rd of July, this is about 21 days from now, West Indies will be playing Australia at our national stadium. Not just the refurbishment, but the renovation of the facilities, the government indicated that it's completed. Excellent. Passing, you can see it well dressed up and looking tops, you know. But the price is amazing. All children is free, up to 16. And I think over 16 is for nationals, CARICOM national is like $5. So it's like, there's no reason, there's no excuse for you not to go, Chris.
Well, yes, there's a reason. It's a test match.
Yeah, it's a test match, so
And
make it a social, you know, it's like you can bring...
Most cricket supporters now don't like a match going more than 3 days. And test match could go 5. Yeah. Although West Indies, we believe, won't last more than 3 days under Australia.
Yeah, they just lost
That's a
England.
different thing, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you have two things going against it, and I suppose that's the influence of the price of the tickets.
Yeah.
West Indies have not been performing as they ought to, whether it's one day, T20, or test match.
Yeah.
So why am I going and sit there for 5 hours unless I'm a real cricket lover to support West Indies? So hence...
But it's a big deal for us. It's stadium, and look, I'm going there just to see the facility.
Just to see the stadium.
I'm pleased about the work there. It looks good. It's an opportunity for us to come together. Let's go and support the cricket, man. You have the time.
Well, I could sit on my television home in my
No, it's not televised.
Well,
I don't think
I
so.
will see it after I will see it on ESPN.
Okay. No, I'm going. Absolutely. Chris, I was reading about deportees. You know, it's reported that between 2020 and 2024, we had almost 197. UK 61, the US 41, other countries. But the government indicate that, you know, they have systems in place, plans in place to accommodate or to deal with it, because we anticipate this number rising based on Trump 2.0. Clearly, this will happen.
Well, I mean, the deportees has always been a thing that has occurred. It's nothing new.
Yeah.
Because if you go to live in those countries and your status in terms of visas and residency is not up to date, and
every deportee is not a criminal.
That's correct.
That's the point.
And every deportee is not a criminal. The ones that we have to be concerned about are the criminal ones, especially those who involve in sex crimes and other crimes, hardcore crimes, so drugs and so on. So it is something that the police, especially the criminal ones, will have to take note and keep monitoring them. I think there was a guy that suggested on a program, you know, give them electronic bracelets to wear, depending on their level of criminality. So that you can monitor them easier. Of course, if we had to do that, we had to change our laws and we had to get the technology and all of that and so forth. It's a cost to us. So when these countries make those decisions and they send back people, it's a cost to us if they are criminal, and we have to monitor them, especially the sex abusers and the pedophiles and all of those kind of guys and ladies. So it's something that we have to prepare for, because it's not going to stop. It's going to get more frequent and the numbers are going to increase. We have to find a way how to deal with them, and the electronic bracelets is probably one of the ways that we can look at it.
So we deal with it. I'm glad to hear the government is aware and making the necessary arrangements for that. Final matter, Chris. We observe motorists driving without lights at night.
Yes.
This is not good at all. It's
well, I want to say to the motorists, I think they probably don't understand this thing. The lights, when you put them on, doesn't make your battery run down faster, if that's what they have in their mind. So the vehicle was made to have lights on when outside gets dark and it approaches a certain time.
Right.
So, you know, and then there's a safety issue. And I always say, when I talk about these traffic things, we have to be prepared to deal with the fallout from what will happen. You come into a vehicle that is in total dark. Make it worse if it's painted black or dark. And you wouldn't see it, especially if you're coming around a corner. On a stretch you may. They have no park lights on. They have nothing on. They're in total dark, and they believe. I don't know what they believe. You know, even for their own self. So I don't know if this is a new fad. I mean, we really lawless in this country when it comes to these things, and it's upset me by.
Okay, I understand that. Chris, viewers, we take a short break. And when we come back, we have Ron Redhead, Honorable Ron Redhead, the Public Relations Officer for the NDC. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
The Mass officially starts now as Spice Mass Corporation together with Aura Caribbean is turning up the thing all the way up with Carnival City Fusion Thursdays. It all kicks off on Thursday, May 29th and continues every Thursday into June. We're bringing the vibes to the Port Louis lawn. Gates open 7 p.m. Action starts 8 p.m. Get ready for live performances from your favorite soca, groovy and calypso artists, plus the sweet sounds of steel band, live bands, and all the mass elements you love. Veko, Jab Jab, Shortney, Mokojumbi, Apache, and more. It's more than a line. It's a whole carnival experience. So grab your crew, bring the energy, and come let's celebrate where culture meets pure excitement. Carnival City Fusion Thursdays, Port Louis Lawn, beginning May 29th and continues every Thursday into June. Come, let's play a mass, cause the thing starts.
Laboratories, providing quality care and expertise. Fit for life and allied laboratories. See our in-house doctors and our pharmacies. Get expert care and quality tests. When it comes to your health, you deserve the best. Fit for life and allied laboratories. We're taking care of Grenada.
Welcome back, viewers, to Community Forum. As indicated earlier, our guest this evening is Honorable Ron Redhead. He is a parliamentary rep for St. George Northeast, as well as recently elected PRO of the National Democratic Congress Party in the recently held convention. Was earlier this year?
Yes, March.
Yes, March. So, Ron, welcome, and it's a pleasure to have you here.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I think it's the first time that I am representing my party on your show.
Oh yes, and we're happy about that.
Yes.
We have been trying to get members of the party to come, but we have only been successful to do it with you.
All right. Excellent.
So let me start off the bowling and say that, first of all, congrats on being elected the PRO of the party. I think it's going to be a challenge. Any new thing is going to require some adapting. But let me ask you, first of all, how the state of play, because you're wearing two hats tonight, so I want to test you on two hats. How is the state of play in your constituency regarding to how, what are the challenges are you seeing for your constituents and in the party? The good things, the not so good things, and what is your take as you move forward as we come closer to elections?
Right. Yeah, no, I think all things being equal, things are good in the constituency and for the party. I'm not disturbed at all, notwithstanding that you have challenges that are unavoidable in politics. That's the fundamental point. So I think once we understand that, we are going to be comfortable that you need to do your work to get the results. So challenges will arise. I think the fundamental point is that are you able to overcome them? And so each time, for example, if you go out in the constituency, when you had the fire or the landslides, those are challenges. It's just how you work to overcome it and how you bring people together at the end of the day, because politics is about people.
Philosophically, you know, there is a school of thought that says elected representatives of constituency is better to let them run the constituency and the affairs of the constituency instead of having them hold ministerial positions which can distract them, and that the constituency will get a better play in terms of, as you say, response to different things that will come up. And of course the party will benefit, because if the constituents are happy, they will put you back.
Correct. And it works both ways as well, because on one hand you could actually have a situation like that where you would allow an individual to run his or her constituency full time. Right? In my instance, this is what I do. Then on the other hand, you have to balance a ministry and a constituency, which is always a very difficult task, because you almost have to, on one end, focus on the national picture, and on the other end, control your urge to say that you need to get this for your constituents, get that for your constituency. So sometimes it's a balancing act, and it's one sometimes very difficult to do, and you could get distracted with national picture and not focus on the local picture, which is your constituency.
Yeah, for example, if you're a Minister of Foreign Affairs and you're traveling a lot, it will tend to create that issue of balance that you're talking about.
Right, the imbalance is created. And then, you know, naturally, if you have the structure and the team that can support whatever MP, then that doesn't cease to be a problem, but it could be minimized. And so you could always find different ways to tweak. This is why I said earlier on, if you have the challenges, it's about learning how to overcome them.
Yeah. When you look at, you know, in your constituency as in all others, there's a constituency day, a day in the week when you
Thursday.
meet. When you meet your constituents to understand their needs and so on, or their wants in some cases. How is that in your constituency? Because I must say that I believe over the years, NNP, NDC, whatever, we have created a dependency syndrome among our people, in that, you know, Imani is a good example from it. It starts off being a good idea, but it becomes a dependency. We look forward and we depend on the government for this. We don't even want to work. What is the situation in your constituency, particularly among men who seem to have a problem not wanting to work and just sitting on the blocks online?
Well, first thing, I straight up with them. Listen, man, at the end of the day, we have to understand that you can't rely on somebody to build your family. You, if you're the male in the household, you need to build your family. That's the first thing. Second to that, everybody needs to take responsibility for their future. You can't go around blaming people and saying they're not helping you and you're not willing to do anything. So I am very straight up with my constituents. I don't play around in terms of telling them straight up if I could help them or not. That's the first thing. The second thing is that you often have to deal with the element of what I would consider to be, in a sense, over the years, disappointment. You know, I come to this representative before and it's just I run around and get things and so on. And so when you're new, just 3 years in, you have to deal with this, what I would say, frustration or symptom of over the years of this constant promise and not delivering and so on. So you get bombarded in a sense with that, and there's always the pressure for the urgency. But I think the key, what we have discovered in the National Democratic Congress, is how do we stick to what we have set out to achieve, which is, we said that we want to serve people. We said that we're here to transform the country, which is what we are doing. And these are the measures that we will take, understanding that people are going to disagree with you, which is a natural process as well. But that disagreement should not lead further to the disappointment that they have gotten over the years. And I think when people start to see the results, there is always a difference in their original view, which is to then say, you know, I didn't get this tangible stuff which I need to work for and get for my family, but I'm seeing the difference in my community. So I think that is always the important task.
Timing is going to be key, because delivering is dependent on rate and the time.
Yeah, yeah.
And of course, your party will be into election mode, if not already. Because I noticed recently, I think it was Honorable Andy Williams announced that there is a new thing of driving through the constituency to
meet the people,
to show them what has been happening and what is going on. Your party came under some criticism with the gentleman from Canada who does this, the polls, saying that one of the things that have come up is that there isn't any major thing or anything that shows a transformative agenda. As a PRO, what is your take on that? And is there more activities that will come to the people in your constituency and generally across the board to show what the government has achieved generally and as a transformative agenda?
There are many. In all respects to Dr. Pierre, certainly he's qualified to speak in his realm. So we have no difficulty with his statement. I think what we are clear to do is to respond to the public by saying just what you asked. What have we done? So I could list 4, and I'll put it in this way. The government, the NDC administration, has created 4 delivery units, new. Creative, meaning it's outside of the normal scheme of things. 1, Project 500. This is to be able to deliver affordable homes to a wide cross-section of families throughout the country. 2, Project Polaris. Now you heard some of the conversations around it. We are now getting into another gear, which is going to revolve around preparation, so to speak, for when we get to the point where we could turn sod. And we're doing that again in record time because of the mechanism of this delivery unit that was created. The 3rd has to do with the question of skills training or centers of excellence. So for example, the Maribo Center, recently refurbished. This is where we are going to be able to teach on a professional level now agriculture as a business. And not so much just the backyard farming, which predominantly has dominated the concept of agriculture, which is where we take the farmers, you give them the produce, and we talk about crop insurance, we talk about farm roads over and over, and absolutely no growth, per se, in a sense, upgrading, of agriculture takes place. And then finally is this one on energy. We are not there yet, because it involves the question of oil and gas, it involves the question of geothermal energy. So we believe that these 4 delivery type units are going to help to create the transformative impact on some specific sectors in Grenada that can then help to drive out the bigger sectors. Because we have tourism. There's no need to recreate the wheel there because it's already a creature of its own, and it's already performing well. Yes, and it's inherited in terms of the performance, and it's just a matter of enhancing. So when you look at the 2-pillar structure, which is now from an infrastructure construction standpoint, I think that is where we need to resolve. So the question of road maintenance and repairs, the question of how do we get contracts a bit faster, better, and in the sense we want higher quality as well, notwithstanding that we're dealing with issues of quality of aggregates and the increase in the external costs and so on to it. So we believe that we are comfortable where we need to be. Can we do more? Yes. Should we do more? Yes. So the question is now, what are the additional elements that we need to do, not just to win the election, but to really hammer home the point of how this transformation is going to unfold. And so that is the conversation that we want to bring to the public, and that is the conversation that we are having.
All right, so my last question for the time being on the PR side of the party is, recently you had an incident with individual that attacked Honorable Andy Williams. And there is appearing to be some reputational fallout risk that could come to the party based on what she presented and what has happened. My recent understanding is that the matter was reported to the Integrity Commission for them to look at. How is the party looking at that, and how, as a PRO, what are you going to do to manage the reputation of the party in these areas that will come up now and probably more in the future?
In the future, right, and we expect it. So the thing is, no, I disagree respectfully with the view that it will have reputational damage, because it is only rumors and there is no fact to this. In fact, just today I was listening to some intellectuals who were discussing in principle what happens with these things. Now, this element of bribe has always been around time and again, right? And I would be very silly if I sit here to say I know for a fact that Tom Jones is doing X, Y, and Z with whatever contractor. And the question is, where is the evidence? And so far, I could tell you I have not seen any evidence. As a PRO of the party, I have investigated this matter personally, and I have not seen any evidence of any bribe or any sort of thing. What I do know for a fact is that a transaction which is private, but there is documented evidence of this transaction taking place in 2023. This contract was awarded in 2024, and this project concept was created before we came into office. So, in my humble opinion, I think sometimes we just need to be a bit more fair. Maybe I'm asking for too much in this politically charged environment, and where you have social media with fake news all over the place and so on. But now I'm being honest. So I think at this point, it is not something that we are concerned with as any major concern. We continue to deliver on our projects. We continue to focus on the sectors we believe needs transformation, particularly the health sector. Currently, we are doing the assessment with our partner, Mount Sinai, and there are noticeable right now improvements, although small, but generally helping to step the stone up in terms of the delivery of healthcare in its current form and where we need to go.
Okay.
Thanks. Look, I just want to follow up on that matter. So you're saying, Honorable Redhead, that based on what has occurred, based on what you have seen, you don't think from your position, executive of the party, that you don't see the need for further investigation on behalf of the party to do that, but that the party has disciplinary measures to deal with such matters if they occur?
If they occur, the party does have disciplinary measures.
Okay, fine. Yeah. I want to follow up on the homes, on the housing, because that's clearly one of your big manifesto, the Build Back Better 500. But you were on a previous platform pointing out that, I think it was a question raised to you, that the houses, particularly in Carriacou, both the prefab houses from Trinidad, I think it was 27 of those, and the Build Back Better houses in Carriacou were not submitted to the planning authority for approval, and you indicated that it was a matter of expediency, while it did not. But when I look at the laws governing construction and developments, that the government is bounded by law to follow this principle, to have approval. So. What is the status of that?
Right. Sure. So first, it's not accurate to say that we did not have approval.
Okay.
Right? The simple fact of this is that the pilot project Build Back Better, so I'm not talking about the prefab homes which are donated and given out. The project, the pilot, of Build Back Better, that was scrutinized, and the initial assessment, feedback, and the process that is natural did occur for this one. What happens in projects now, especially when you're dealing with the question not so much of expediency, but you're talking recovery, that one pilot, the actual pilot is what is needed for approval. What you are doing is that you are reconstructing homes on the same piece of land that originally had approval. The question may arise with boundaries and different elements and so on, and ownership. That is a matter which essentially now would be handled separately, because you then have to go and, you know, sometimes you need permission, or you need to know if this person owns the property, etc. So in principle, the Build Back Better model, that was approved, and the pilot took place down Granance. Planning was involved. The original contractor was there. He worked time and time again.
So you say physical planning, the project was submitted to physical planning for approval in the normal.
Yes.
If it was, then that's fine. We
so there's no issues there.
But the important transformative factor in your manifesto talk about rural poverty, of course, reducing rural poverty, and youth unemployment. But let me just pull up for a moment one of the latest ILO report. It's talking about, it says unemployment remains a pressing issue with youth unemployment, and that's at 24%, and even higher among young women. With young women, it's rated at 36%. So what new strategies is the government adopting to tackle the youth unemployment situation? That is not, it's not going away. And also the disparity that we are seeing regarding the gender issue regarding male and female unemployment.
Yeah, so it's an important concern. I think what we inherited, we are seeing a reduction from where we are now, but we are not where we want to be, particularly among youth unemployment. Unemployment generally has decreased from what we met to what it is now. However, this issue of the gender inequality in terms of the unemployment or employment, if you may, is that part in the challenge is that the available jobs and the training available to fill these jobs, there is a mismatch, right? Now, you heard us speak a lot about the question of the centers of excellence and so on. The reason why we need to build that out is because we need to get the skills that are actually going to be employable within the context of Grenada's economy. In other words, we can't be training people to go out. We are doing ourselves a disservice, because if we are doing that, then it means we need to import labor now to fix some of the gaps that we have. So what we find is that in the instance of, let's say, carpentry, there is currently in St. Patrick, the exact location just slipped my mind, but the government owns a woodwork factory, so to speak. That is going to be used as another of the centers of excellence to be able to build out the question of the capacity for carpentry in the country. Now, what that is going to do is that when we are doing projects and we're looking for the question of finishing, interior designers, etc., we would no longer have to import that. Now, that's a long-term goal, but there are some medium-term steps which we can take, which can help to immediately improve that situation, and also some short-term steps, which is why we are creating the delivery unit to be able to roll out the skills training component. Now, the issue with women, for example, when we talk about the financial literacy, right? This is something that we don't teach our young people in terms of how to amass wealth, how to come out of the question of poverty, something about an endowment plan. Some of them may not even know what that is, right? A trust fund, things like that. Purchasing shares, if you get the money in a susu or wherever it is, you get the money. So it's just about how do we reculture the mindset of the young people. And the other thing is, honestly, you need to make more meaningful training available. So for example, in St. George Northeast, we've just launched yesterday in collaboration with the Ministry of Social Development, a community training program which we are going to teach 20 young people. I think it's only one male, which is a good thing now. So in the area, it's a cause for concern in the area of general office administration, because this whole question of customer service and the quality of customer service we have in Grenada is extremely is a concern. However, how do we repair that? What are the programs that we have? We can't look at the formal education system because it needs a total overhauling. So where we have the access at the community-based level is where we need to target, because it's easier to do and change.
So this being approach. I want to go to the party. So, go ahead.
I don't agree with that stat. from the point of view that women are more out of jobs than men.
Right.
I think
Well,
that
the numbers
that
are there
started-
from the ILO,
I don't agree.
Yeah.
But why I'm saying that,
Yeah.
and I want to press a little on
Yeah.
this, is that right now in the country, now, women to me are more employable than men. We see more
Visible,
men
yeah.
than women.
Yeah, yeah.
When you go to schools, there's more women. When you go to training centers, you just have more women, one man. So it's more women taking up the mantle of getting for the jobs that are available than the men.
Yes.
So I have a problem with that level of 24 and 30-something% difference where women are not serving.
Because remember, this rate is also influenced by people actively seeking jobs too.
Jobs, yes.
So if them young men just
Yeah.
chilling and they line in,
Yeah.
they're not part
And the
of
young
that.
men get the higher paying jobs also.
Right.
Well, and
That's another
that
factor.
is something that probably need to change.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
right now, if you go in construction and a woman mason comes with a man mason, the woman will probably stay longer on the job and given the same pay,
Yeah.
no difference in pay,
Yeah.
right? So we need to sometimes take some deeper looks at these statistics because what we've
Right.
seen on the ground
Yeah.
Totally
is different
different.
to what is
Yeah.
being reported.
I agree.
And the ethic, the work ethic with our women are far superior than the men.
Yeah.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
That's a
That's
fact.
a
It's
fact.
not in
That's a
these
fact.
studies.
No, that's a fact.
And that is,
That's a
I
fact.
just say I want to press,
That's
but
a fact.
the labor issue in the country is a major concern.
It is.
And I hear you talk about it, but our Prime Minister have also said that, left up to Amy, get rid of this work permit nonsense.
Yeah.
And bring in people to help in the short term
Of course.
to alleviate the problem in construction, particularly in agriculture.
Both construction and
severe
agriculture.
labor shortages in those
we
areas.
need the support because, look, let's face it, the situation externally is highly unpredictable. And so we can't rely on the comfort of saying we know what is going to happen in country X and so on. So we, as Grenadians, have to sit and plan out how do we, for at least the next 50 years again, successfully and sustainably plan out how do we build Grenada out of this situation. And this issue of labor is a major concern. And it's also a concern in the area of healthcare.
Well,
Right?
I mean, I was
Because-
just going to say the
right.
very successful formula is with Cuba.
Where?
Right?
There is a
Chris?
lot of our health systems in the country being supported by Cuban doctors and nurses,
Yeah.
some of them into private practice, and thank God.
Yeah.
The health services is that I don't think our health services is as bad as we say because we have external help that have come in, but
Correct.
it could always be improved, as you
Correct.
say, and could always get better.
The government, the NDC, when they came in, they came in heavily on the question of accountability, transparency, and good government. But one of the first decisions taken is to suspend formal consultation with social partners. That is the churches, labor, private sector. What mechanism now exists to ensure citizens' engagement, feedback, and accountability, particularly in an organizational form point of view?
Well-
And why? Or what's behind that decision?
Well,
really.
Well, it's a fair observation, but I can say to you there was not a decision taken to not consult with social partners. Social partners consultation does not mean that you need to put every single social partner in a room and then consult with them. It means that you could reach out to the churches when there are issues directly affecting
But that's
churches.
not structural. That's
Right.
Ad hoc.
Well, no, I disagree because it's just difference in leadership style because it results in the same interaction and consultation at the end of the day. Some people like to get it from a direct standpoint and bring it back.
But these bodies are saying that they are no longer consulted. That's the point I'm making.
Well, again, I cannot verify that. But what I would say is that in the interest of consultation, I think, you mentioned it, we did talk about accountability. And if I am to judge based on observation, as made earlier on between the male and female unemployment, is that in my humble opinion, the accessibility to members of parliament, the accessibility to government is a lot better than it used to be. I'm not saying that we are perfect, but people can scrutinize, that's one. People can also interact and engage, that's two. And I think that part about it, I meet with all kind of people in my constituency, boss, farmers, just to talk through stuff and they have access to me so that we can raise this to the relevant bodies and to get results. So this idea of consultation is just based on how you may feel comfortable with consultation. But
no,
it is
I'm just
happening.
saying what existed before,
Right.
and what there was national public bodies, and I'm talking about.
Let me just say a word on that,
Yes,
because I was
fine.
part of the social partnership.
Right.
Right.
I think the big opportunity that the government will miss by not having a formal arrangement of meeting with the NGOs and all of us and so on is that you get an ability as a government to explain yourselves on issues, one,
Right.
and get everybody on the same page. And then the other major thing that you're missing is that the interaction between the various groups and how certain policies will affect, you would not get from individual consultations than when you have everybody on the table. And that you will miss from that formal arrangement. So it's something that I hear your style about leadership and so on, but I believe most countries now generally try to get a formal arrangement with those groups so that the government could get an opportunity to pitch to them why we go in direction Y or direction X.
And I agree with
to
you.
get that done,
So it's just to say,
holistically.
you're correct. So it's just to say that, and I started off by saying we have not formally disengaged the social compact. It's just to say that as of now, coming in, because we're just about approaching 3 years, right? Coming in, the engagements are ongoing, and it's good sometimes to meet with people on a one-on-one from a sector-based standpoint, and even NGO.
We have to take a short break. Viewers, we'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll rejoin the conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Fit for life and allied laboratories, providing quality care and expertise. Fit for life and allied laboratories, see our in-house doctors and our pharmacies. Get expert care and quality tests. When it comes to your health, you deserve the best. Fit for life and allied laboratories, we're taking care of Grenada.
The Mass officially starts now as Spice Mass Cooperation together with Aura Caribbean is turning up the thing all the way up with Carnival City Fusion Thursdays. It all kicks off on Thursday, May 29th and continues every Thursday into June. We're bringing the vibes to the Port Louis lawn. Gates open 7 p.m. Action starts 8 p.m. Get ready for live performances from your favorite soca, groovy and calypso artists, plus the sweet sounds of steel band, live bands, and all the mass elements you love. Veko, Jab Jab, Shortney, Mokojumbi, Apache, and more. It's more than a line. It's a whole carnival experience. So grab your crew, bring the energy, and come let's celebrate where culture meets pure excitement. Carnival City Fusion Thursdays, Port Louis Lawn, beginning May 29th and continues every Thursday into June. Come, let's play a mass, cause the thing start.
Welcome back, viewers. We're here with Honorable Ron Redhead, the PRO of the NDC. Look, party perception. There is a public perception, and this is based on what on Facebook and what you're hearing, that the NDC is an elitist party. Yeah, that's a perception. Of course, we're not saying that it is or isn't. So that's the narrative. That's what you're hearing. One that mainly serves its supporters. How does the party respond to this view, and what steps have been taken to counter this narrative?
Well, I don't know that we have steps to counter it. I think.
What's your response to that?
Well, I have heard about it
Yeah.
as well, and naturally so. But I think it's one of the false sense of just basic observation. Now, one or two individuals are not the defining factor of the party, meaning that a political party from a national level is made up or should be made up of different strata in society. That's two. And then three, I think if you look at the situation right now, as young, ordinary people, men and women, some of us certainly are not elite and we do not come from an elitist class. Well, at the end of the day, I think the concept is that, you know, from layman's term, someone would say, well, you think you're better than people. And this has more to do with personality rather than party. And so the National Democratic Congress is a people's organization. It was birthed out of this whole fight with Labour, etc. You know, it comes essentially from members leaving the new National Party and forming the National Democratic Congress, namely George Bizan. And so it offers us that opportunity from a grassroots, people-centered focus standpoint. The question is, how has it transformed over the years? And the perception of who holds leadership positions in Grenada is probably the deciding factor to say. So if you have a female as a leader, you might think of the party in one way. If you have a male as a leader, you might think of the party in another way. And then if you have a lawyer, you might think about them in another way. If you have a businessman, you might think about them in another way. So it is always based on the individual who's holding the position. I think what we've done over the many years is that we have seen several different leaders. You had Uncle Tilly coming from 2013 era. You had Brother Naz. You had at one point the deputy leader, holding leader, Mr. Joseph Andal, well, now Honorable Joseph Andal, and Senator Adrian Thomas. And then you had Sister Franca Bernardine. And now you have the Honorable Prime Minister, Honorable Deacon Mitchell. So there has been somewhat of a change, transition of the leader. But I could tell you the party remains diversified and is not this elitist.
Because part of it also the comment.
I press that from a different angle. You spoke about leadership style, obviously, and that influences. But you know, I think this question Byron is asking also apply to rum shop type politics. Right. And you may hear accusations about some of your leaders not willing to go to the rum shop and engage, as NNP used to do. A big part of the politics was that style. Is it that this and style will influence how people see and perceive certain things? Right. So is it that the party is cognizant of that and would want to see that type, or you prefer to keep it as it is now and see how it works? Well, I think every political party is concerned about its own interaction on the ground. And look, you can't, Caribbean politics, certainly I assume when I leave, when you leave, is still going to remain the same. So this question of interaction with constituents in a rum shop or wherever it is you need to meet people is something that is always going to be around. Yes, if you ask me, more of it should have been done in the past, but certainly at this moment, that is no longer a cause for concern. In fact, I would go almost everywhere or anywhere, and I can speak for myself, in terms of interacting with constituents, regardless of status or anything like that. I do, you know. So when you look at the people, even at my constituency office, the homeless would come to me. Sometimes late in the night, if they're doing on a class or some kind of thing, they come and beg for $10 and thing and this kind of thing. So I'm saying there is no elitist class, certainly in our mind. It's ordinary people who raised our campaign financing. So I could share with you. Our budget for the PR was made about $100,000, right, last election. And that's what we had. There was no war chest, there was no thing. Grassroots people spend their money and they assisted, right? And a lot of people gave to the cause. So I'm saying, even if there is the perception of elitists, that is only in the mind, and again, is always subjected to probably the office holder. Of course.
Well, one of the things that came up also is that and the party has boasted inclusiveness. But it's interesting that the Foreign Affairs Minister very early, the government says early, that it intends to professionalize its foreign service, it's foreign affairs, foreign service, and it's moving in direction. But we see what was happening in Ottawa with a new embassy, and that's an important investment. Let me say that, given where Ottawa is placed in North American context, particularly what happening with the U.S. and Canada. I think it's important to have top representative there. But who was placed there? In fact, your former chairman, not the professional foreign affairs person. But isn't that evidence that you're in fact looking after your own?
Well, I disagree. Minus his association with government and his party affiliation, he's certainly a Grenadian.
Yeah.
He has competence just like any one of us,
Yeah.
no matter his age.
Yeah.
And second to that, I think this is more about his service, right? Because remember, he started working in GIS, he started working in other places, he ran as a member of parliament or a candidate, became member of parliament, served as a government minister, and transitioned now out of it, coming out of 2018.
So you're convinced that he has the skill set to do this job. That's fine. There are reports, and we come back to Dunn and Pierre again, a report that that social media platforms in Grenada, that the NNP suggests that the NNP has overtaken the NDC in online engagement for the first time in nearly 3 years. Is the NDC falling behind digitally? If so, what has been done to improve the public engagement and visibility?
Well, I would respond in this way. Now, social media is based on, in terms of the insights, when you look at it, it's really based on views. Now, I could say this, that Brother Diali might put out a video, he may get more views than me, but the nature of his video is not anything that we can all consume. And so it doesn't mean that my video, if it has less views, is something that people are turning a blind eye to. It just simply means that this one is getting more attention than the norm. No, I say this to say that people could be leading for several reasons. And so for where we sit, we are not too concerned because there's no election now. So we are not too concerned about the online war. I think, well, I'll say online battle. We can lose this battle now, but win the bigger war. Right?
I want to go in the party again. On a scale of 1 to 10, and 1 is low, 10 is high, how would you rate the NDC government performance over the past 3 years, and why you will give such a rating?
Right. Now, I think to be fair, and even just to the wider public, I would say about an 8.5. We always leave room for improvement, and we have made some. There are some gray areas in certain instances. I'm not saying that it's something that is going to be repeated and so on, but you know, as is with countries and government and running, there are a lot of unpredictable scenarios. And so government's own response, so I could take, for example, Hurricane Beryl. While we responded good, the recovery phase, because of the lack of access to contractors and so on, is still a cause for concern. So the scope in some instances is still lagging behind in terms of where we really want to be, the number of houses we need to rebuild, the areas that we need to rebuild, etc. And so there's always room for improvement, but I think ultimately the government has taken the right approach with a lot of things which for years have been left undone. And I mentioned about the delivery units and so on. For a long time, we needed to fix the healthcare situation. For a long time, we needed to close this gap between the mismatch of what we offer in terms of education and the jobs that are available. For a long time, we needed to ensure that from an infrastructure standpoint, road construction, that's another problem that we have to improve, and I spoke about it. So there's always room for improvement. We're not there yet. So to be very honest, while I am the PRO of the party, I would say an 8.5 thus far, 3 years in, is an appropriate score if you use your method 1 to 10, 10 being the highest.
So on a personal note, Ron, I mean, I know you've been a parliamentarian before, and I know that you were given time to complete studies and so on. So my question is, how is the studies going, and how, if at all, your involvement in your constituency as you are now fully engaged with them. Is that a distracting element? Is it interfering? How is that
No,
on a
fair
personal
question.
note for your development?
Fair question.
Personal
You know,
note.
last night I was on a class, and probably one of the distraction is when people calling you about different things and all kind of hours in the night. So it is always going to serve as a distraction. When I go home, I have my 2 children to distract me even more. But that is good distraction. So you know, you always have to find that balance. But I think, notwithstanding that, the importance is that I aim to complete, and I'm working extremely hard. Sometimes you are late with assignments and so on. You know how universities are; they're very strict with that. And if you don't get the opportunity to inform early enough, you always have to go through all these other processes and so on. So for me, it's just the stick-to-itiveness personally, and we remain steadfast and focused. You know, Prime Minister personally said to me that he wants to give me this opportunity to complete my studies. And I will share this because on the note of personal, since 2013, I was working to go and complete some studies. In 2013, I was going to do the Global Campus, UE, and the government changed. And for whatever reason, I worked at the government printry then. I was not chosen to continue in the work. And so rather than waiting all the time, well, I was told so personally, so rather than waiting all the time, I left. And so I had to put that on the back burner. Joined the politics front line. Again, the studies went on the back burner. And now coming into the whole question of 2018, becoming a senator, I started the studies officially in 2019 at St. George's University. By the time 2020, I lost my father. I had to take a withdrawal. By the time 2022, we came in, we had the election, we were successful, I had to withdraw again. And so I've always had this staggering. So it's very difficult.
Yes.
Very difficult. I won't pretend with anyone, it's very difficult. So now I told myself that notwithstanding the challenges, this is what is going to make me stronger. I need to complete.
Yeah, and that balance, family and personal, is not easy with career. And how is that maturing you to? Because you know, when you started, I asked you about the constituency day, and you say you were very upfront with your constituents. You know, boss, you have to get your act in order.
Always
is that
so.
helping? That struggles to get your personal thing in balance with your maturity in dealing with issues when you see them.
Yes, I would say yes. I would say yes.
We have to wrap up, Chris.
Yes,
Any final questions?
No, I want to congratulate.
Certainly, we want to thank you for coming. But my final question to you, though, what can we expect in the next 2 years going forward? What are the wows? What's gonna ensure you return to office?
Well, I think you should.
NDC, that is.
I think you should invite me to our next program.
Okay, well, that's fair enough. Thank you.
No, we want you to encourage your other reps and colleagues in the party to come on the program.
No, definitely.
We're happy to give them time to see what
But we thank you for coming. It was a pleasure as ours, and we hope you come back. Thank you very much. Viewers, that's all the time we have. We thank you for being with us. We want to thank the technical staff, Honorable Redhead, of course, Chris. We'll see you next week, same time, same place. Bye-bye.